If you love wine but hate overpaying, listen up. Today's sponsor, Last Bottle Wines, drops one deeply discounted sommelier-picked wine every single day. I'll tell you why I'm obsessed later in the episode, but for now, head to lastbottlewines.com and use code CORKANDFIZZ for 10% off. Interested in learning about wine, but not sure where to start? You're in the right place. Welcome to the Cork and Fizz Guide to Wine podcast. I'm your host, Haley Bowman, and I'm so glad you're here. I'm a wine enthusiast turned wine educator and founder of the Seattle-based wine tasting business, Cork and Fizz. It is my goal to build your confidence in wine by making it approachable and lots of fun. You can expect to learn everything from how to describe your favorite wine to what to pair with dinner tonight, and so much more. Whether you're a casual wine sipper or a total cork dork like myself, this podcast is for you. So grab yourself a glass and let's dive in. Hello and welcome back to the Cork and Fizz Guide to Wine podcast. Today you'll be listening to part 2 of my interview with Ashwin. If you haven't heard part 1, I highly recommend pausing this episode and going to listen to episode 146 first. You can always come back to this one. As a reminder, Ashwin is the founder of Unpinned Wine Club, a wine subscription built around discovery, storytelling, and breaking the rigid rules of the wine industry. You're not going to find a boring old Chardonnay in this box. Each month, he curates 6, or there's an option to do a mini with just 3 wines, but he curates 6 underrepresented wines from around the world, grapes and regions often overlooked by mainstream distribution. Some shipments that he's had in the past include themes like Forgotten Grapes. This featured Hungary's volcanic Jafark and Portugal's rare Azal. He's also done the theme Georgia versus the world, which compared ancient Qvevri wines from Georgia to their global counterparts. His journey in wine has been shaped by time living in Georgia, Italy, Hungary, and Serbia, where he immersed himself in the local traditions and learned directly from the winemakers. This makes his experience very unique and special, and I think his take on wine is something we all need to hear. So without further ado, let's get into the interview. Thinking about your wine club, because one of the hardest things I find for a lot of folks, I grew up in a small town in Wisconsin. There is one actually now that's doing a little bit better that are bringing in some good wines. It's a little coffee shop that also has wine. So I'm like, hey, keep doing that. But there weren't when I was growing up. And so your options were Walmart. You could go to the largest big city and they had Total Wine, or we had a liquor store, and they also had the bottles, So it's like if you come from one of those areas where you don't have access to a small wine shop, it feels like wine clubs like yours are one of those ways to get this wine and to be able to try that. So do you want to talk a little bit about how your wine club works and then tell us a little bit about how you choose the wines that go in your club?
Absolutely. Yeah, this was one of the most surprising parts about launching this wine club is that we have so many customers from smaller towns in like places of the country that I've never been to, and a lot of them I'd never heard of. And I was really surprised at first because I figured, these like niche wines from underrepresented varieties from countries that most people haven't heard of, it sounds more like an urban thing. It sounds like a New York, it sounds like a DC, it sounds like a Chicago. And what it's been is more like Little Rock and Emporia and, Canton, just like places that I'm like, wow, this is surprising. And I think you hit the nail on the head, Haley, where these are the places in the country where you literally cannot get these types of, like, there's no way to get it other than online. And so I think our wine club is filling a really cool need for folks that have a desire to drink the other 10,000 grapes, that are curious about what the world has to offer in terms of taste, that want to support the biodiversity of our planet. And now they have a way to do that. And it's really awesome and exciting to see. The second part of your question, how do I choose the wines? It's probably my favorite part of my job. Honestly, it's so much fun because this is where you get to be a little bit artist, a little bit mad scientist, and a little bit, kind of like just business person, where I think the primary thing for me is like building around a theme. So every month we'll have a theme and all the wines connect to that theme. So one of the months we had Forgotten Grapes. So these are wines made from grapes that account for less than like 0.1% of the world's vineyard plantings. So extremely rare. We had grapes like Dufark and Pericone, and so everything was around that theme. And then we had a Georgia versus the world theme where we had wines from Georgia, which is the birthplace of wine, and they were paired up with wines from a more traditionally classic winemaking region, so that you could have a little bit of like a baseline for comparison. Because if you've never tried Georgian wine before, it can be a little bit jarring just to dive headfirst into that. So we're like, hey, let's try and make this a bit more approachable. We have like right now we're shipping, or at the time of recording, we're shipping women winemakers. So these are incredible, like trailblazing women making wine. And I kind of alluded to this earlier, but the wine industry is very male dominated. And so this is our little way of trying to like make some change on that front. But we'll start with a theme, and then I start tasting wines that feel like they could fit that theme, and then I pick the best ones. So long as we're still representing some diversity, meaning I don't want to ship 6 red wines, even if they're all awesome. I don't want to ship them all at once, because it's like, oh, I want wines for all different occasions in each of the shipments, even across the themes. So that's kind of how the process works on my side.
This is kind of just a curiosity question for me. How do you get these wines to taste? Are you primarily traveling? Are they making it to you? And then like you said with like, oh, if I tried 6 reds and they were all great, but I had to pick some, do some of those go in your back pocket? Or is it like they're gone because they're such small shipments? Like, how do you get all these wines to try and put in the box?
All the above. It's all the above. Like I travel quite a bit. Like most of my travels revolve around Europe. And the nice thing about being in Europe is that the countries are all like quite close together. It's kind of like being on the East Coast in the US. You just like hop on an hour and a half flight, except instead of being in a different state, you're just in a different country. So I do a lot of tasting with producers. I've been tasting wines for 10 years. So I have tons of producers that I know and love. And then I'm working to figure out how can I get my hands on their wine at wholesale. I'll have folks that will want to like send wine our way. We try to avoid that just because then like we don't want to be biased on what we're choosing. And so I'd happily I want to pay for the wine and then taste it. And if it works, we'll use it. And if it doesn't, I don't want to feel bad about being like, no, this doesn't work for us. And then, yeah, I'm drinking wine all the time. So I'm drinking wine at dinner. I'm drinking wine at wine bars. When I find one that moves me, I'm like, oh, let me like make a note and like, let's put it in our back pocket. And yeah, everything I taste, if I like it, it definitely goes kind of into the back pocket. That way I can kind of like, as I'm constructing these themes, sometimes I'll have 2 or 3 wines already in mind. I'm like, hey, this Mavro would work. And this like Mavro, oh, maybe we'll actually build a Greece theme, because like the wines that are coming to my mind right now are all Greek. And then we'll kind of like build around that way. So yeah, a little bit of everything that you said
Yeah,
is how I
definitely.
end up tasting.
Okay, and then for folks that are listening that have heard you talk about, you're saying a lot of grapes they've never heard of. You've also mentioned that a lot of these are naturally made. You might call them natural wines, but to a lot of folks that means funky wines. Are most of the wines natural wines that you include in the box? Are they funky wines? Would an average wine drinker enjoy these wines?
That's such a great question. I think an average wine drinker would love these wines, and that's actually one of the most challenging parts of this job. Is how can we find wines that are off the beaten path but still taste really good, right? Because I think there's a beauty in the natural wine movement that there's just less stuff in it. But then I think there was a lot of, I don't want to say cutting corners, but like it takes a while for a new trend. And in this case, it's a new old trend. But this new old trend, it takes a while for it to get refined. And so we definitely had this like swing too far into like the natty direction, where it's like a lot of these wines have flaws that like the volatile acidity is just like it's way too high, or the Brett is just like it's too much. It's like these wines are flawed, but we're put them under the label natural, and so now it like flies. And I think that turned like some portion of the people off from natural wine. They're like, oh, this is just like these aren't good. I don't really like how they taste, so I don't want to drink them. Whereas I think there's some phenomenal natural winemakers that are out there. It requires more care, more attention, it requires more skill and patience. But there are folks out there doing it that are amazing at it and have, kind of like almost like patentable techniques in my mind. Obviously they don't patent it. They just like do a really good job kind of with these tricks that they've learned. And so the wines are like fairly classic drinking. In every box, I'll include 1 or 2 that push the boundary, just because, I think it's important for folks to understand like what the full spectrum looks like. But on average, we try and make sure the wines are like fun to like good. They're like good quality wines. Like I would open it with a good meal, not just like, oh, I could drink this wine and like eat Doritos. Yeah,
Right.
but I mean, you can also like have a steak and it would work.
Yeah,
So
like you're choosing wines that are good tasting wines, and then they just happen to also be natural wines. It's like you're not selecting it purely because it's a natural wine.
exactly, exactly.
I like it. Okay, well, we've talked a lot about rare, underrepresented grapes. So I feel like this is going to be like the question that's like, I'm making you pick your favorite kids, but it's more like because I'm going to ask you to highlight. Can you share maybe 3 or 4 grapes or specific wines that I just people haven't heard of, and it would be fun to learn about them?
Yeah. So I'll double click on a few that I've already mentioned. I mentioned them because I love them. So Tino Mavro is a red grape variety from Greece. It's like often you'll find it on the mainland. There's a region called Nausa. And I mean, my personal cellar is full of Tino Mavro because it drinks a lot like Nebbiolo, a little bit wilder, but lots of acid, firm tannins, ageability, dried fruit, some like, kind of earthiness, gaminess, and just like a quarter of the price, like just such a good value. You can drink $200 wine for like $30, which is actually what triggered me on this journey in general. Was I was not, I was like, I want amazing wine, but I don't want to spend $100 a bottle. And then this is right here is where it led me. So Tino Mabro is one.
Well, and I will say before you go to the second one, for folks who are listening, Casino Mavro, I'm familiar with this grape. It doesn't look like when you're reading it, it does not look like what we are saying. It starts with an X, which is probably why a lot of people avoid it because they're like, how the heck am I supposed to say it? I'll put the spelling in the show notes for anybody who wants to look up this wine later. But I've always learned how to say it is like Casino Mavro, Casino Mavro. You kind of say it all together, but it does start with an X. So it's like, okay, I'm not even going to try that one because I don't know how to say it. So we'll put all of them in the show notes as well.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Haley. And I think you're hitting on an important point, which is like I had written about this. There's 6 or 7 reasons why these wines, like people don't drink them. The fact that you can't pronounce it is one of the highest ones.
Yeah.
It's like you're not going to order a wine you can't pronounce. You're already afraid of being judged for not knowing enough about wine. The last thing you're going to do is like look at a grape called Mitzvane and order it and be like, I'll take the cab. That's easy. I can say that. I'll
Right,
take the cab.
right. I know that one.
Yeah. So Tino Mauro is one. Another, there are two kind of like Austro-Hungarian varieties that I really love. Jufark is one. Furment is the other.
Mhm.
Furment is much more widely available, and relative to Jufark, it's still like if you go into a grocery store, you're not going to find Furment. But both are like high acid, minerally, often grown in volcanic soils, like saline type of wines. The Jufark is a little bit wilder, funkier, a little bit more like often kind of like honeyed or like mead type of thing. It's like it's richer, it'll be more golden. So those are two that I love. I drink a lot of those from Hungary, from Austria. Ufark mostly from Hungary only. Pudiment from Austria. You can find it in Germany, in Serbia a bit. So those two I really quite like. And then we did one from Greece. We did some from Austria, Hungary. Oh, let's do Georgia. There is a lovely white variety called Kisi, Kisi,
Okay.
Kisi, and it makes like it's a white grape. They make amber wine mostly. So amber wine is just you ferment the whole fruit. So white wine that as we know it, you like press the grape, use the juice, and you throw away the skins, which kind of that left me also scratching my head. I'm like, well, why would you like in red wine you use the whole fruit? Like, why are you throwing away like this perfectly good part of the fruit that tends to also have a lot of the kind of like health supporting elements in wine, like a lot of the antioxidants and whatnot. So anyway, Kisi often made as an amber wine, so you use the whole fruit, and you get this really delicate floral, amber colored wine, and you'll smell like often like honeysuckle and jasmine, along with like you'll get the fruits, you'll get apricot and some green apple. But it's the floral notes in Kisi that it just makes me kind of go like this. Like it's just so fun to drink, and it's like it's the notes that they're tertiaries. They're hard to preserve in a wine, and yeah. So summary: it's Sinomavro, Jufark, Furment, and Kisi. are the four that I came up with.
I love it. Very fun. Okay. Now, and I think we've kind of hit on this as well, but do you have any specific advice for listeners that like are like, okay, yay, these wines sound fun and they're good to try, but I'm kind of afraid that what if I don't like it? I buy a whole bottle and I don't like it, so I stick with what I know. I'm afraid to like go out there. What is your advice for kind of starting to branch out and be able to go beyond that, what they are familiar with? Who doesn't want incredible wine for a steal? Today's podcast is brought to you by Last Bottle Wines, a Napa Valley-based online wine shop with a super fun twist. Some of the best bottles I've ever opened, aka the ones my friends still talk about to this day, came from Last Bottle. And I love when they say, "This is incredible." And I get to reply, "Yep." And it's usually an $80 wine. I only paid $25. At Last Bottle Wines, they offer just one hand-picked wine per day until it sells out. New day, new wine. It's like a fun little daily surprise. And the deal's wild. We're talking 30 to 80% off retail, so you can try amazing bottles without the scary price tag. Their team tastes hundreds of wines every week, so you know what you see is worth grabbing. There's no subscription, no minimums, and free ground shipping when you buy 6 or more bottles. Use code CORKANDFIZZ for 10% off and go see today's wine at lastbottlewines.com.
I think there's two things that come to mind. One is a little bit of a change in mindset that it's like trying a new restaurant. Sometimes it's going to be awesome and sometimes it's just not. But most of us are okay, like going to spend the $50 or the $80 or whatever it is to like try out a new restaurant. Like you get an appetizer, a glass of wine, main, a dessert. Like you're going to spend it and it's going to be good or it's bad. And it's like similar with wine. It's like a little bit of openness to, hey, I'm exploring here, and some are going to rock, and some are going to be like, meh, this wasn't for me. So that's just like a mindset shift. I think a really practical thing is to taste with friends. So have a group of 4 people, 5 people, 8 people, open 4 or 5 different bottles, and there will definitely be ones that you like, and there will be some that you like less. But because you're in a group, everyone will probably have something that they like and something that they don't. Some maybe you'll all agree, maybe you won't. But that's a really great way to be able to taste a bunch of different wines without kind of feeling like, oh, definitively I'm going to have either just a good experience or a bad experience. So I very much recommend that.
Yeah, definitely. And it averages out. That's exactly how I started learning about wine and how I got into it, was that I wanted to try lots of wines, didn't want to have to buy them all myself. And so, started a wine club with friends, which like it is so easy to do. There are very few people who say no to like, hey, do you want to come over and like drink wine together? Like that usually brings in a lot of people, right? And it's like all you have to do for your entry and it's like bring a bottle. So it's a great way to like connect with friends, plus getting to try all these wines. And like you said, it kind of averages out because everyone has different tastes, right? It's not necessarily that there's going to be a bad wine. There might be, but it's more like you just have different tastes. And so some people, will drink more of this versus more of that. So you get to try a lot of things. I think that's great advice. All right. Now, what is new and exciting for you coming in the future? Where do you see yourself and Unpinned, thinking 5-10 years down the road?
Whoa, that's fun. The wine club just launched 3 months ago. And when something is new, you're just so in it that you don't pull yourself out to think like, where is this going to be in 5 years? It's not something you do that often. I think one of the things I love most that I haven't gotten to do as much of recently is tasting new wines with new people. So through our wine club, I'm tasting a ton of new wine. I handwrite the tasting notes. I like provide all the food pairings that I'd recommend and like a lot of context. And we send these wines out, but I don't get to often taste with the people that I'm sending the wines to. And I'm hoping that as we get bigger, we start to be able to do that more. So we have like enough concentration of people in a certain area where it's like, hey, we're just going to do a live tasting and like let's all like open these bottles together and like have this shared experience around these wines. I think that's something that I miss and that I'm really looking forward to being able to do, as I think like longer term as the business grows. I think the other dream that I would really love to realize in the next 5 years is to open a wine bar.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know where yet. And I've been told by almost everyone that, that's a great way to lose your money.
I have heard wine bars are even harder than restaurants, but I'm with you on that. I'm like, it just
Yeah.
sounds so like that's what I would want. That sounds so fun. And like the way to
Yeah.
that's how you introduce people to new wines.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly. And I think it's hard to do well, but if you do it well, I think it can outperform. So that's something that I'd love to do, that it becomes like a community space where we're constantly tasting new wines, and I've got like some visions for like rotating food menu and pair it with some good music, and you just like kind of like take Unpinned, the experience, like the Unpinned Wine Club. It's like constantly evolving. I would love for a place to have that feel. So those are two like
Oh,
kind of
fun.
like long-term horizon projects. Yeah.
And I'm sure you've thought about it, but I'm just going to put it out there because it's what's going on in my mind of what would be fun when you're like, I want to taste with people. And I'm like, you're talking about all this travel you do and all these producers you know, an unpinned like wine retreat, like sounds amazing of just bringing people to you, right? Like you could go to them, but bringing people to you and with all the knowledge you have of all the different areas and it being somewhere other than I feel like a lot of wine retreats. And I'm very much would love those too of like in Italy or in France, but like bringing people out to show them Georgia and the wine producers and giving
Totally.
that opportunity, you know, if that ever comes up in your plans, I know that would be something I would keep an eye out
Totally.
for.
Yeah, no, that's such a great point. I've definitely thought about it. I've even had people reach out to me about it. It's just like, it's just a lot of work. And I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
hey, I've got this one thing that I'm trying to get rolling,
Yeah.
and then once it's rolling, then I think I totally agree. It would be so fun.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I just had to throw it out there. I'm like, just in case. I'm sure it's come up in your mind, but
No,
all
I'm
right.
glad you did.
Okay, so we are down to the last questions. This is what I call my speed round. You don't necessarily have to like answer super fast. The idea is just don't think about it too much because then the
Okay,
questions could be kind of you could think about them forever. So it's more like what's the first thing that pops
cool.
into your mind is how they're going to go. So for example, the first question, what is your favorite wine at the moment?
At the moment, there's this Ciliegolo that I had recently, and actually we're shipping this month. It's like 90% Ciliegolo and then 10% Sangiovese. And I love it because like so I live in Florence, Sangiovese is everywhere. It's like it's kind of the king, and it just like flips on its head. It's like Sangiovese is just like riding in the back seat. You've got this really like bright like cherry red wine that's delicious. Yeah.
Cool. I like it. Okay, how about what's your go-to bottle of wine to like bring to a dinner party or to share with friends?
Oh shit, it's like different every time.
Your answer too. You're like, whatever is different and new.
Yeah, it's that. It's like it's never the same. It's never the same. Yeah, I mean, like I've got a ton of Fekete Pince wine from Shomlo in Hungary, so that's often my go-to actually. Now that I think about it, because he makes these white wines that are like age worthy, like 15 years of age, and they're delicious. And so I have like I bought a ton of it, and I'm like, this is just more than I could ever drink. Like I've got 400 bottles of wine. I'm just staring over there. I'm like, that
Right.
thing just keeps growing. It just keeps growing. So that's my answer. Yeah.
Okay, I like it. All right. And now I feel like this is also going to be a hard question. What is your favorite wine region that you've ever visited?
What's coming to mind to me right now is either Imereti in Georgia,
Okay.
which is they make these leaner wines. So they're like more minerally, less alcoholic, like vibrant, can be skin contact or not, mostly whites that I really love because it's like some of the freshest air you'll breathe is how I felt while I was out there. Like the sky is just really blue and the greens are really green, and they make the wine in the Quevri underground. It's like in these pots. It's beautiful, and the food is delicious. So it's either there or Sicily are probably the two that are coming to mind right now. Like I could just eat my weight in arancini and drink frappato. Like
Right.
that just sounds like a great Sunday.
Oh, I love it. Okay. Now, on the flip side of that, how about a wine region you'd like to visit that you haven't been to before?
Oh, let's see. Where have I really been wanting to go? I've spent very little time in Germany,
Okay.
and like they're kind of like austere, steely, very direct white wines, like sometimes kind of like alpine feeling white wines. It's a style of wine that I really like drinking. I just don't drink it often, and I haven't really spent much time in Germany. So yeah, maybe Mosul to start, just because like I do think you kind of need to like understand like what makes the country famous before you go like branching off and tasting all the other stuff a little bit. So yeah.
Yeah, good answer. Okay. Similar to our first question, what is your favorite wine and food pairing at the moment?
we have a really close friend. She's basically a sister. Her name is Ali. She makes a wine called Podere Capaccia. It's a Sangiovese made like, I don't know, like 40 minutes from here. And that's like we call it our house wine because she sells it to us at a discount because she lives walking distance from us. It's like whenever she comes over, she like brings a case with her because we're always running out. So it's probably that wine with, I mean, I think we have some of the best like steak in the world where we're sitting. So it's her wine and like the filetto from the bistecca fiorentina.
Yeah.
Just like simple classic, but just I don't know that you can find like I'd be hard pressed to find a red wine that I like more than Ali's red wine, and I'd be hard pressed to find like meat better than what our butcher Macelleria Bartolozzi. Like I don't think you could find anything better than either of those things, and they pair together so beautifully. So yeah.
Oh, sounds delicious. All right, I think we know the answer. I think everyone listening knows the answer to this question, but I'm curious. If you were given $1,000 to spend on wine, you had to spend it on wine. It was wine for you. What wine would you buy?
Whoa.
And I don't mean like it doesn't have to be super specific. It's kind of one of those of just like what would be kind of your like mindset going into it? How would you go into spending that money?
Yeah, let's see. I mean, it would be like let me go buy wines from these small producers who I've been following but haven't really gotten to taste their wines yet. Because there's so many of them. And a lot of them will message us on Instagram and stuff, and we try to respond as much as we can. And it's like it's just there are a lot of winemakers out there, and I want to like I would love to taste the ones that I'd never heard of. So I think I'd like ask friends, be like, hey, what's a winemaker that no one else knows? And just like, I just want 6 to their wines. Let the winemaker choose. Like, as long as it's not extravagantly expensive, like call it like $30 a bottle or something, $35 a bottle. Like, just give me their Venmo or their eBay or whatever, and just tell them to send me the wine. I'll just send them money. I think that's how I do it.
Yes, that tracks. I was like, it's definitely going to be, all of them are going to be different. They're all going to be ones you've never tried before. That would be how I would imagine you'd fill your box of wine.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to end on I guess maybe I shouldn't end on this one, but it is always fun to ask. What is one wine myth that like bugs you the most?
Ooh. Probably that legs in a wine glass indicate anything about its quality. It's just like, I don't even know how we got there. I'm like, all it tells you is how viscous the wine is.
Like, it's just a science thing.
Yeah, it's just like, like water doesn't leave a lot of legs and maple syrup does. It just tells you how thick the liquid inside is, but the thickness doesn't tell you if it's good or bad quality. Like Riesling, like you can spend $300 on a bottle of Riesling and it's gonna have no legs, and you could spend like $4 on like a bullshit Napa Valley 16% red wine. And it's gonna have a ton of legs, and it's like it's just it's so irrelevant. So yeah, that's probably the biggest one.
Great answer. I love it. All right. Well, that is everything I have. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll let folks know I talk a lot about the wine club and encourage folks to join Unpinned Wine Club to try all these wines that Ashwin's talking about, and that is exactly how you can do it. And you offer both a 6 wine box and also a 3 wine box, right, at this time?
Yep, exactly.
Perfect.
Both options.
We'll put all the links in the show notes so everyone can go check it out. But thank you so much for joining me for the interview.
Awesome. It was my pleasure, Haley. It was so awesome to meet you. Thanks for having me, and can't wait to clink glasses at some point.
Yes, exactly. It'll happen someday. All right. Yeah. Cheers. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Cork and Fizz Guide to Wine podcast. You can learn more about the Unpinned Wine Club by going to unpinnedwineclub.com. And if you want to join now, and there happens to be a wait list, you can skip that wait list by clicking the exclusive link that is in the show notes. If you have any trouble finding that, please let me know. I'm happy to help you out. Just reach out on Instagram or email. You will get 6 underrepresented wines from around the world paired with storytelling, tasting notes, and food pairings, all for $227 a month. There's also the option to purchase the box as a one-time purchase or give it as a gift. You can also get the mini version, which is just 3 bottles for $137 a month. Be sure to follow Ashwin on Instagram to learn directly from him all about wine and his journey to discovering the wines he puts in his box. You can find him at Unpinned Wine on Instagram. If you loved this episode as much as I did, I'd so love it if you could take a quick second, rate it, leave a review, leave a comment, tell me what you thought was interesting, what was your favorite question, what's a question I should have asked if I missed it, and I will reach out to Ashwin. I'm sure he'll answer it for us. If you know a wine lover in your life that would enjoy this episode, please share it with them. And if you'd like to show additional support for the show, you can become a paid subscriber. Click the link in the show notes and become a monthly supporter for $10 or less a month. This is not required. All of these episodes are available to you free, including my entire backlog. But if you wanted to show some more support, you can do that. You'll get a shout out in the next episode I record. Plus, if you choose the $10 per month option, you'll get to choose a topic for a future episode. In next week's episode, we will be continuing my little mini series. We'll be debunking the myth about screw cap wines and why they might actually be more reliable than corks. I know, scandalous, right? Thanks again for listening. And if you want to learn more about wine, come follow me at Cork and Fizz on Instagram. Cheers!